Oh, hey, howdy there. I woke up already knowing the title for this vlog. I didn't know I was going to do. um, I woke up a little bit also with a headache still. And I fell asleep with these on my back. So, must have needed rest. And it's still daylight, but I wasn't feeling great, a headache mostly. And it's been due mostly to, well, maybe a little bit the heat, but also just bad postures in reading and watching stuff on my computer, with being like this a lot. Propped up by the pillows, but still not good. Gave my posters out to a couple of local places that have masseuses to see for a trade. It's one of the ways I evaluate a culture, but also it's something that would make me happy. So far, I haven't succeeded in building such a long-term relationship, and I would think I should have one if I'm going to set roots in a community. I have access to a room here, but it hasn't been cleaned. I don't know if there's bed bugs or whatever, but it's cooler in there. But still, I'm so used to being in my motorhome now. It's been more than a year. When it's hot or cold, or whether I feel safe where I'm parked or not, I'm so used to it now. Like, I remember times that I wake up feeling sore and alone and uncomfortable still, even though I took a nap to kind of try to be better. And it wasn't always in Canada, but it was different parts of Canada, and sometimes it could be like waking up super hot in Vietnam or in Uganda or in Korea. And there's one place I stayed in Korea. So I stayed there like 6 months, man, and I tell you, I never made the bed comfortable. And it came with a tiny little mattress thing, like this thin, but it's so freaking, you can do it like this and press it like the 2 millimeters with the two fingers. And sometimes I'd walk and I'd see these mattress stores. Oh, can I save up enough money because I'm freaking poor because I'm not being paid being there, and can I buy a mattress? And then he's like, I asked them to show me their most firm mattress. And it's not firm at all. I'm thinking, man, is this like an episode of Just for Laughs Gags? Speaking of. And it's like, man, that's not even soft at all. That's not even hard at all. Like, I might as well just freaking sleep on the floor. But it's a cultural thing, right? And it's what we're used to, and it's what sometimes convinces us is comfort or not. But when you're really tired and when you need sleep, like let's say you worked hard or you pushed your limits, sleep will come pretty much anywhere. It won't surprise you when you fall asleep sometimes. Hey, let me get to I'm just trying to make a few links along the way. Speaking of Just for Laughs gags, or speaking of, let's say, French culture, it could be like comedy, like Just for Laughs gags, or like a comedian that is so good at his job that he could do comedy that is, let's say, wordplay with French, let's say, or that that's things that people can relate to, like their families or relationships or raising kids or even climate change or whatever it might be, and they can make it culture neutral. Well, if that comedian, let's say, does a show anywhere around the world, and you kind of don't tell them but where it is or who it is, but you'll bring like French people from France, and let's say French people from Quebec. And this comedian looks out in the audience when the lights are on, and he or she won't be able to tell the difference between them. They'll all be laughing at pretty much the same times, if he's a good comedian, or if it's a singer that they both know in that culture, let's say Rock Voisine. And he's doing only French songs, maybe a couple English that is most famous, and these are fans of Rock Voisine, it's French music. Then yes, you can't tell the difference. Everybody's dressed nice and it's all great. If you do a concert, let's say, of like a famous American, as they call it, singer, And you do the same thing with an audience that's half Japanese and half from Korea. And you dress them all really nice. And even if the lights are on, I tell you, the singer would very much, pretty much not know. Not know. And the reason that they won't know is there's reasons where they're the same. And they're there to enjoy the music of this person, and they're excited to be there, and they're dressed nice, and this is a special occasion, and they're happy, right? And but if you have conversations, let's say from people from France or Quebec, let's say during the intermission, you have conversations with them, you can really tell the difference. Oh man, they're like worlds apart. Like you could talk pretty much about anything, or you can just talk about nothing important. And we can't say the weather is nothing important now, in case you guys didn't notice. And you'll see just listening to the way they use their language, let's say, and you measure that, yep, if we have one dictionary and all the words they said came from this dictionary. Now that's rare, because actually a lot of them make up words, or they don't use French words. They'll use English words in there, or they'll use the same French words but differently, or in a lazy way. But let's say you're measuring a particular group at this time that is all using the same French words from the dictionary. You'll still see, man, there's a difference in how they talk about, let's say, the eclipse that was there last night. And it would have to be last night if the concert was early in the day, and they would have had to be there, right? Not fly from far away, probably. So, the conversation will still sound so different, right? Now, will they have observed it differently? You'll almost think so by the way they don't use their language in similar ways, although you can measure it as compared to a French dictionary. If you talk to the audience that is half Japanese and half Korean, whoa, they're different. Holy moly. And, it'd be interesting to see if they mingle during the intermission. Let's say there would be 40 minutes, let's say. And if they have that in common, let's say, whatever they're there to see. It could be like an American singer or something. And you know what they're talking about. I think maybe there might not even be that many efforts to win with the French. There would be a little bit, right? It'd be like whoever's next to you when you're like getting a drink or whatever. But then, hey, try this. Try this. Let's say I can't pronounce the name still of my favorite Korean singer. Lee space sun dash, I would say, or hyphen, HEE. So sun dash HEE. And then LEE at first, and then space. That's my favorite singer. But let's say half is her and half is another singer that is, let's say, famous in North Korea. And let's say they blend the show, and they've even worked together to do a show where they tell stories behind their songs that could be about family or tragedy or the human condition, and they mix it up and they tell stories, and they even do a few duets. And let's say there's people in there from North Korea and some from South Korea. By the way, I'm not going to show you my underwear, because it's like it's the one where your mom would be upset if you die wearing that underwear. Although, that singer, I really like her, that if she wants to see me in this underwear, she can see me in this underwear. And so anyways, so during the intermission, let's say it's all younger people that are from North Korea and South Korea. And again, like the other two concerts in French and some Japanese and Korean, the other two scenarios. So again, let me repeat the scenarios. One is a French music, rock voisine, with people from France and people from Quebec. The other was a famous American. It could be young people there too, where half is Japanese and half are Korean. And then the third scenario could be these two singers that are famous in North and South Korea, and they work together to do a great show that has nothing to do with even, unless they involve comedy or what's similar, let's say, in the human condition that is similar North and South Korea cultures, right? Because we're all kind of experiencing the human condition and what it means to be social creatures living in this epoch, right? That has, let's say, access to, an opinion about things that we mostly know about. And sometimes it could be raising families or something like that, or getting married or love or whatever. Do you know what would happen during the intermission? Now, During the intermission, the young people at this Korean show, half North Korean, half South Korean, would probably mix in to talk to each other with so much passion and tears and connection that you'd think Korean culture is the best culture in the world compared to observing this with Japanese Korean or French cultures from the other two scenarios. And it would be, they're so happy, these young people. This would be majoritively the scenario. They're there to enjoy music they like. Maybe they haven't even known of these singers that are famous because they're younger people. Some of them didn't know about my favorite singer that are young people that I'm asking them about. But they really like the stories they can really relate to, and they're just so happy to be there, and they're dressed nice, and this is a special day. And during the 40-minute intermission, they're talking to people in their age group who also understood all the words and stories behind these songs, but are from North and South Korea. Do you know how much they would talk to each other? They would probably wish, they'd want to see the rest of the concert, and they'd probably want to switch seats and sit next to each other, but they would probably want the intermission to be more than 40 minutes. Now, here's a last thing to ask you guys, and this tells us how screwed up we are as a species, and how who we like or don't like, or who we think is a better culture than ours or worse culture than ours, is actually a lot related to the elites. Because the elites wouldn't have a problem with this French concert, they wouldn't have a problem with this Korean Japanese, but they'd have a problem with the Korean. Now, do you know that when I say the elites, I don't necessarily just talk about Korean elites. I'm talking about elites all around the world. Like the U.S. they would have their hand in this because they need to have their hand in everything. And then these other cultures judge this, judge that. So the elites kind of shape history, but not as much as the norm who go along with it, who are easily domesticated. But these scenarios, this Korean one is almost not likely to happen. And that's so sad, because that would be the best experience for people going to that concert compared to the French concert and the American singer concert with the Japanese and Korean. So why does it not happen, if not because of the elites or because of the norm? And what's wrong up here? Because if quality of life matters, that Korean concert should be happening all the freaking time.